Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is Mr. Chris Dashew.
Might you say Detroit's own Mike White for this specifically special bonus episode?
Yeah, a lot of Michigan in this episode, that's for sure. We are talking about not Columbo, but the Execution of Private Slovik. We're talking about the 1974 TV movie that was directed by Lamont Johnson, written by Richard Levinson and William Link, and based upon the book by William Bradford Huie, all about Private Slovik, Eddie Slovik, who comes from the mean streets of Detroit, born in 1920 and executed by the United States Army January 31st, 1945. There were over 21,000 American soldiers who were given various sentences for desertion during World War II, including 49 death sentences, and Slovik was the only one who actually was killed by the United States. Chris, what did you think of the Execution of Private Slovik?
My God, the U.S. government hates Polish people, huh?
They sure do.
Yeah, that was the joke that I kept making throughout the entirety of the movie, because I watched the movie with a friend of mine. Her and I watched it with my folks, and we were enthralled throughout most of the movie, because obviously the framing device with which the story is told, I think, is what the ultimate success of the movie is.
True.
It made me feel like Goodfellas a little bit, or maybe a little Rashomon in the way the story was being told. It's a real bummer of a story. You know where it's going based on the title and the way that it's told. It is en media res, but then we kind of get the jump back to and this is how he got here. I haven't seen Martin Sheen in a whole lot of stuff. If you could see right now, but you can't, my background is Martin Sheen from yet another movie that he's rather well known for that also has to do with the military Apocalypse Now. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now in a very long time. I will just come out and say it. I haven't seen it probably properly as an adult, or at least a person doing this now, as opposed to just someone who watched movies all the time and just enjoyed them and could turn his brain off at one point. I haven't seen Martin Sheen in a lot of stuff, so he's really good here. I think that this is actually a really interesting movie that opens up a lot of avenues for discussion that maybe don't have much to say about the movie itself. The movie itself is rather well made. It's a TV movie ostensibly, but it doesn't really feel like one. It really has a lot of high production value. It has a fair amount of known actors: Martin Sheen, Gary Busey, Charlie Sheen for a moment, for no reason other than because he's Martin Sheen's son. I enjoyed it. Again, it leaves you some things to chew on, but I don't know. I think if you know this story, this might not necessarily be the most entertaining thing on the planet, but I think the way that the story is told may make up for your, and I'm not saying you specifically, but you, the listener, your exposure to this story, which as someone who grew up in the 90s, I was not imminently aware of this story. Okay, you're shaking your head. No, I didn't know if this was like a thing that people knew about. My folks had seen this movie before. Both of them had. My folks are a little bit older than you are, Mike, but my folks had both seen this movie. Because when I put it on, my dad was like, why do you have to watch this?
Right.
And I was like, well, it's a Levinson link thing for Columbo. And he's like, I've seen this before. And then about halfway into it, my mom was also like, I've also seen this before. So there was a time and a place where this was a thing that people knew. Now, not so much, but all of the long answer to the short question, I enjoyed it immensely. And I feel really bad for Eddie Slovik because it feels like the US government, just as they like to do, tend to make a mess of things. And what's the term? Fuck around and find out. Oh, we didn't actually think he would get killed if we passed the sentence. What the flying fuck? Okay. Yeah. All right. Sure. Great. That's bureaucracy at work, folks. To test us, tempt us to do it. You did it. Okay. And then it seems to be the fucking response. What about you, Mike? I know you're maybe not as high on this movie as I am.
I like the movie. I didn't love the movie, but I liked the movie. And I will say right off, I had never seen it before, had never heard of it before, hadn't heard of Private Slovik before. I'm more familiar with even like other people that were killed during World War II or right before World War II with the Rosenbergs, right?
Oh, yeah. The two that were like essentially, were they or won't they spies for the Germans, right?
Yes. I was more familiar with the Rosenbergs than I was with Slovik. I was more familiar with the kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby than I was with Private Slovik. I guess it's probably because it's such a shameful part of American history, or at least people should be ashamed of it.
It should be.
Yes, exactly. This felt like an episode of MASH at times to me because of the idea of the incompetence of the army, somebody getting railroaded. It feels like this could have been the start of a story for a MASH episode. But yeah, to your point, I really like this structure as well. I really like that we start in the present. We've got Ned Beatty as this priest, and people are talking about how is this going to go? They've got the dummy and they're pointing at where the heart is. Most people think it's here, but it's actually down there. And should we put a piece of paper on here and draw a target on it? Because we need to practice shooting one of our own soldiers. Really morbid. And then, we step back in time and start to follow who is Eddie Slovik? Who was this person? How did he get here? And then we get all of these voiceovers from the people that knew him, even very briefly. Like we get that, oh gosh, I'm trying to, like the Charles Hayde scene. I was like, oh, cool, Charles Hayde, this is great. I love him. I've talked about him when we talked about Barney Miller. He was in that pilot episode. Talked about him when we did Nightbreed on the projection booth and Altered States, Hill Street Blues. And he's in here for what, 5 minutes, if that?
There's more Gary Busey in this movie, that's for sure.
Which isn't even that much Gary Busey. But yeah, it doesn't feel like a TV film. It didn't really catch a lot of fade outs. It didn't feel, and here's the time for the commercials. that's the dead ringer for a TV movie, but it felt very professional. Lamont Johnson, I thought, directed it very well. And yeah, Levinson and Link just did a hell of a job when it came to the adaptation and the structure of the story. And then you mentioned Apocalypse Now, and I kept thinking of Apocalypse Now through the whole thing because Eddie Slovik also has a voice in this movie, and that's through his letters home to his wife. And
at the end as well, right there at the end, there's the moment where we can hear him while he's on the execution stage. We can hear him and we shouldn't be able to. So that's like the only other moment, a singular moment in the movie where we hear him, which is very specifically done, I feel like.
Yeah. And every time he would start to speak in the movie via voiceover, I just kept thinking, Saigon, shit, I can't believe I'm still in Saigon. The entire movie, I just kept thinking about that. Every day he sits in the hotel room and Charlie's out in the bush, Charlie gets stronger. And yeah, it's amazing to think Martin Sheen looks like a little kid in this movie. And granted, he still looks very young in Apocalypse Now, but 5 years makes one hell of a difference. And I know it wasn't even 5 years because it took so long to put together Apocalypse Now. He probably started on this 3 years, maybe 4 years after Slovik. So yeah, amazing that he was able to give these two very different performances. If anything, he reminds me a little bit more of the character that he played in Badlands in this movie, though not nearly as well. I think that character liked to think that he was very slick, but just that kind of like slightly undereducated. Like Slovik was in prison several times, and in reform school, he just led quite a life of not doing very well. And it felt like he was turning things around for himself with his wife and everything and his child. And then boom, the army pulls him in. Shouldn't have even done that. Should not have brought him over and put him in the army at all. And then, yeah, here they are, and they put him in this war, and he doesn't want to be there. And I didn't realize how many people had defected, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Deserted.
I didn't realize.
If he was
how
a
many
defector,
people.
it would be a lot harder for
Yes.
just a defensible thing at all.
Right. Yes. But yeah, no, I didn't realize just how many people there were. Sounds like 50 people that were sentenced to death. He's the one example. And that they do it like, I don't remember when VE Day was, because it's basically the war was winding up in the European theater. They didn't need to do this.
Yeah, that was the thing my esteemed father and I were talking about after the movie was, why did they do this so late? It's
Yes.
like, they should have executed somebody like day one for desertion or like day two. Like, because we all know that there were plenty of people. The number is 49 people that were given the death penalty after deserting. But you already said the original number. It was 1.7 million court-martials during World War II. 1.7. That's a lot. To be the one in the 1.7 million, the one guy, it feels a little bit much. I was curious of this because this was something else I picked up on while I was watching it. Is he meant to be a little slow?
It sure feels like it.
Thank you. Because I was like, because I did a fair amount of research into this, and it didn't seem like that was the case with the real person. Again, he seemed like a ding dong, maybe stealing stuff, but okay. It makes his story even more kind of tragic that this guy may have been suffering from mental health problems. Because then it's, oh, good, the U.S. government put a mentally ill person to death, too. Because here's the thing. You're allowed to be a conscientious objector.
Oh, yeah. I saw Hacksaw Ridge. Actually, I didn't. But yeah, you are.
It's a Mel Gibson movie. There's a reason you didn't see it.
You're right. I like Andrew Garfield, but I wasn't about to give Mel Gibson any of my money.
And I'm a bitch in Heat. I at least look like a bitch in Heat. That's the name. So
That's
you
right.
won't see it.
That's right, sugar tits.
Yeah. You look like a bitch in Heat.
It's
Gibson,
time
everybody.
to forgive Mel Gibson. We know he's a virulent, racist, anti-Semite, but it's time to forgive him.
It's true. It would be much
Yep.
cooler if he was a Yosemite as opposed to an anti-Semite.
You know what? Maybe he'll be the ambassador to Australia now.
Oh, yeah. At this point, who fucking cares?
Yeah. Just throw it all into the fire. Fuck this world.
Hey, man. And that's the thing. That's the hard thing with this movie for me is given, and again, like wherever you fall on the political divide, I don't frankly fucking care because I've never liked the US government either. I've never liked the US government because the US government has a lot of problems and the US government has not owned up to a lot of stuff. Operation Paperclip, never really owned up to that. The internment of Japanese and German people during World War II, still never really owned up to that.
Oh, come on. Quit being so woke. That stuff, that's all just critical race theory. And when we talk about critical race theory, we talk about people being critical of the United States. Come on.
How dare I? And then you have something like this where 21,000 American soldiers were given sentences for desertion, but only one guy gets killed. I get the idea of the one example that needs to be made, but I'm not going to say somebody else, but like, why this guy? I just don't
seems
get
so
it.
Arbitrary.
Well, and again, if you believe the story the way it's presented and the story the way it's written, he could have gone and just committed a crime and been thrown back in jail. And I think to myself, like, why the fuck didn't you do that? I just don't get it. It made no sense to me. Like, if I'm him, if I'm in his position, and I know that I can't bring myself to do this for whatever reason, why not just go commit a crime and get thrown in prison? Your wife is not going to get the money if you desert anyways. So that's what I didn't understand. That was where the disconnect was. And I'm not looking for an answer from a film from 1974, but I think for me, I'm a little disappointed maybe that they couldn't really explain to me why he didn't just commit a crime. And they do hang a lantern on it. They're like, well, you could have gone and done it. And give me a reason why he wouldn't. Like, unless it is just the scene at the beginning of the movie. And again, this is just the movie I'm talking about, not real life, where it's meant to call back to the scene where the guy at the prison is like, don't come back now. Like, really internalized it that much that you'd be willing to go to the military? Like, fuck that. You don't want to be part of the oil in the machine because shit, nobody cares about the oil is, expendable. Clearly, it's added constantly. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. That is the question throughout so much of this. Why now? Why are you standing up for what you believe in right now? Why are you taking this hard way out when you could have taken so many easier ways? You could have literally deserted. When he comes back to his unit, it's okay, I'm back, but I don't want to fight. It could have been a conscientious objector stance. He could have said, I don't want to fight because my religion prevents it, or I just cannot fire against another human being, or something like that. But instead, it's just, no, if you're going to make me fight, I'm going to desert again. And they're like, no, all right, now you're arrested. It's like, here I'm arrested? Yeah, you're arrested.
Yeah, I don't get it. And what I don't get, to your point, is obviously, again, the odds were in his favor until they weren't. Mm-hmm. If you use the numbers that we were just discussing, 21,000 for desertion, motherfuckers, those are real bad odds. Mm-hmm. You are pulling the best, worst card out of a deck of cards. I don't know how else to explain it. It's such terrible luck to be the one guy they want to make an example of, but it does seem so fucking arbitrary. They have a character in the movie bring it up, and again, I can't help but wonder how much of this is the case. He's the convicted criminal.
Right.
And as Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight would show us all, criminals are people too. That's why they didn't blow them up on the boat at the end of the movie, remember?
I do remember that.
Just this movie and that movie are the same. Very similar.
I think Tiny Lister was on that boat, so I didn't want to see that boat get blown up.
Oh, yeah. Tiny Lister. Get it? He's not small. He's a big guy.
He's a very big guy. Was a very big guy. R.I.P. Tiny Lister.
Zeus.
Oh, I fucking love that guy, man.
Tiny Lister. He should have been Eddie Slovik.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Then that would have been brought in. That would have been racism. It's just
isn't this racism as it is?
But more to your point, the way that they portray this character, the way that you hear, because I kept talking about the letters,
the way
he reads the letters, yeah, and then you can even see some of the letters being quoted out on Wikipedia, and you just see, I understand not knowing how to spell the French city that you were in. Okay. And there's certain other spellings that he does where I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's a common one or whatever. But there are others where I'm just like, yeah, he doesn't seem like he's white. And then, yeah, to hear him read those letters in that very halting, stilted, almost Forrest Gump-esque way of speaking, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, he does seem like he's not quite 100%. It feels like he was in the school of hard knocks for his entire life. Feels like he starts to get his life together, even though he is special. And then this happens and he doesn't know how to handle it.
Is it weird that he calls his wife mommy?
That is weird.
Is that where that also does it for me? Mommy.
Yeah. Now, I know.
Like maybe a codependency thing? I don't know.
Yeah. It would make sense once she gets pregnant that he would call her mommy to be like getting her used to it, or hey, isn't this cool that you're pregnant thing? But yeah, I think he does that before that.
And again, to the point of he's maybe, again, not all there.
Right.
That would track with the character. And again, I didn't see anywhere that was the case with the real person. And maybe it was. Again, I've got to wonder about the mental stability of someone who's willing to do what he did. But again, he was playing the odds. He had a 99.99 repeating % chance of not being the guy they made the example of. Literally, like the odds were against him in the worst possible time.
I don't know if you've ever seen Paths of Glory, the Kubrick film.
Didn't.
This reminded me a lot of that as well, because with that one, it's 3 soldiers that they make an example out of for not doing what they're supposed to do. They're basically in a complete no-win situation. And I want to say, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I want to say they were almost drawn by lots as far as, oh yeah, these 3 guys are the ones that need to take the fall for retreating when they shouldn't have. And I want to say it's George McCready is the general who had ordered them out there. He's always great. And he's got that in real life. He had an amazing scar in his face. So he just looks perfect in that. And then it's Kirk Douglas. That's the first time Douglas and Kubrick worked together, and him trying to defend these guys, and to see them in that death row situation and start to just break down. It's just amazing performances from like Joe Turkel and from Timothy Carey. And I can't remember the other gentleman because it's the 3 soldiers. And you see those emotions, and then you see Slovik here, and it's just like, oh, they're going to kill you, son. And he's just like, oh, uh-huh. And he just so doesn't seem to realize the gravity of his situation, even when he's standing there in front of the fucking firing squad.
They said that he was competent and able to stand trial. I have a hard time believing that.
Same.
Again, they show it in the movie where he's just not tempting them to do it. Because again, the assumption is you're just going to get the equivalent of a slap on the wrist. Really, he'd already been in prison before. He knows what it's like. That's a cakewalk for him out there in Michigan.
Yeah, the Michigan prison is pretty tough.
I'm surprised you never heard of this growing up in Detroit.
I am too.
That's one reason I'm surprised you haven't heard of this, is the Detroit connection.
Yeah, and it makes sense when they're talking about like the Polish people and everything. There's such a major Polish population, and it's not just Hamtramck. People should see how that is spelled, and you'd be like, what? How do you get Hamtramck out of that? It's a major Polish area.
Hamtramck was also like Middle Eastern folk.
Now it is. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, and there's a real controversy right now because I think it's the mayor or the city council voted to ban pride flags. Really bad luck for them. Dearborn seems to be even more tolerant of gay people than Hamtramck is. But you also had a lot of Polish people living downriver, which is where I'm from. All the people that my dad worked for when I was younger, my stepdad, I should say, like they were these 3 Polish guys that ran this scrapyard and stuff. And so many, just like Polish culture was everywhere. Like we had these huge events at the Yost Ice Arena, and yeah, they had different festivals, Italian festival, all these different things, but the Polish one was like the event. And you would not believe how many bowling alleys there are downriver.
I would.
Yes.
Polish people love bowling.
They do. I would say it's a stereotype, but it seems to be true.
I have the Italian thing. The Polish thing seems to be from your neck of the woods, but like where I grew up, there was none of that. But in Chicago and stuff like that, or like you've said up in Michigan, like big Midwestern towns with big ethnic populations of, ostensibly white people, like ethnic white people, the kinds of people that people were racist against in this country originally before they became also part of the racist groups. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird that this isn't talked about more, but at the same time, like you alluded to earlier, the U.S. government ain't exactly hot to trot about showing all the ways it's fucked up. And the thing that really bums me out is his wife tried to get him pardoned 7 times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jimmy Carter? Really? Come on now. Like, Jimmy
yeah.
Carter of all people. Like, that's surprising to me.
It is. And there's that moment, I want to say it's about halfway through the film, where he leaves and she goes, and that was the last time I ever saw him, I should say.
And then the last time I heard anything about him for 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wild.
Fucked. This story is really fucked because sometimes life is not fair. And sometimes life is insanely unfair, overwhelmingly unfair. This is that. This is one of those moments where, dude, if there are some people who luck breaks in their favor constantly, there have to be people where luck breaks away. And this guy is just like the worst. The reclassification is bad enough as it is, but then the fact that he goes to war and he gets fucking shot by the US government, my God. And Martin Sheen is so sympathetic in the film. Like, I don't know, Martin Sheen is an actor who, like I alluded to at the beginning, I haven't seen him in enough things other than Now This and Apocalypse Now. And I guess The Departed. Whatever.
You haven't seen Wall Street, man?
I guess that's the other one, but I haven't seen
All
Wall
right.
Street in a really long time. Like, that is a movie I really want to rewatch because I remember enjoying it a fair amount. I remember thinking it's one of those movies that if you were to ask me 15 years ago, I would say it's one of my favorite movies because it's like the snappy dialogue, the Kirk Douglas of it all. Now we're essentially just living in the movie as if we weren't to begin with. Yeah, no, I guess when I think of Wall Street, I don't think of Martin Sheen. Let's put it that way. I think of Charlie and Michael Douglas. But Martin Sheen, he's great here. He's so sympathetic. And it does verge on kind of simpleton man, but I think he pulls it off spectacularly, frankly.
Yeah. That appearance in Wall Street is what leads to one of the best moments of Hot Shots Part 2, when you've got Charlie Sheen writing a letter and you hear his voiceover and then he starts to get overshadowed by his dad's voiceover. And it's Willard on the boat coming one way as Topper Harley goes the other way. And they both stand up and look at each other and go, I loved you in Wall Street.
Yeah, that's and that is one of my favorite jokes in that
so
film.
Good.
Yeah.
It was weird because we talked about Martin Sheen. He was so briefly in that one episode of Columbo where he got murdered, ganked by Vera Miles.
Oh, that's right.
That's
Holy
the connection
cow.
here. Yeah.
Okay.
And then he was the king of TV movies for a while. Like in the early 70s, he's in Letters from Three Lovers, one called Toma. Well, he's in Badlands, which is a great movie. Police Surgeon. Oh, sorry, that's a TV series. Next movie is Message to My Daughter. When the Line Goes... No, that's not a TV movie. Execution of Private Slovik. The Story Pretty Boy Floyd. The California Kid.
He wasn't in Marco, was he?
I don't think he was. No, he wasn't on a kite. Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been better?
Missiles of October, which is his first time playing a Kennedy. The Last Survivors and Sweet Hostage. Those were all TV movies that he made between 1973 and 1978. Then he's making regular movies. He's also on TV appearances. He was in The Cassandra Crossing, which I recommend. He was in The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, which if anybody listening to this hasn't seen The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, it is amazing. And it feels like a play. And it's just him and Jodie Foster and like a couple side characters, but it is just so much him and Jodie Foster, and he plays the creepiest creep. Like he would make Matt Gaetz go, "Whoa, you better back off, dude."
Allegedly,
yes.
Allegedly, Your Honor. You know, thinking about Martin Sheen and then Charlie Sheen, who's also in this movie briefly, like, I'm not blinking, you'll miss it because the camera follows him. So please get your child off screen. Goddamn you. I can't think of, other than maybe like the Douglas family, these like multi-generational families. They're the big ones, right? In terms of male families, at least.
Yeah, I guess the Baldwins, and then the Douglases, and then these guys. The kings and queens of it for me will always be the Barrymores, just because they were actors before movies even began, and we still are dealing with the Barrymores.
Damn, dealing with.
I love some of the Barrymores, and I actually really drew quite a bit. I wish she was in more movies rather than doing that insipid TV show.
You know what they say, you can't make money.
Choice.
And you can't make a shitload of money making movies anymore, but you can make a shitload of money with TV deals and TV sales of products and advertising. And hey, that show looks like it's always at least crowded with people cheering and yelling. And Drew Barrymore is, she's amiable enough, I feel like. I don't know. Yeah, I wish she was in more things. I guess, I don't know. Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez and Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen played a pretty convincing president there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Sheen, I think, pretty great actor. His kind of meltdown personally aside, I think Charlie Sheen's a pretty great actor. He actually has a pretty wide range as an actor, too. Genuinely, this is not me blowing smoke. I know you feel the same way.
Yes.
Even if he is winning with Tiger Blood so hard that winning, damn, that shit was wild. I will tell you that much. And then Emilio Estevez, I never resonated with Mighty Ducks. And that was my frame of reference for him early on. But then Repo Man obviously is that's a real classic, at least for me. That's one that I really resonate with as an adult. I think they're three solid across the board actors. And it comes from looking at something like this with Martin Sheen, who carries this entire movie on his back, really. Even when he's not on screen, he makes a huge impact because he's the focus of the whole thing.
I can't believe you haven't talked about Joe Estevez, his brother. It was one of those guys who would show up in the I'm the brother of the famous person type things, like a Frank Stallone type of person.
Take it back to, singing around the trash can. Is that what you're saying? I love that song. Frank's
he's
great.
Amazing. One that he did for Staying Alive. That's a great song. But yeah.
Frank Stallone. Yeah. Frank Stallone. My brother's famous. We know.
Like for a while there in the 80s and 90s, especially because that's the era I remember the most. Like they would have things where it's like Sheen and Swayze, and then it's Martin Sheen's brother and Patrick Swayze's brother. Oh boy.
And Billy Baldwin.
Yes. The worst of the Baldwin. I don't know. Stephen might be worse.
Is Stephen Baldwin? What's wrong with Stephen Baldwin?
I think he's MAGA. I think he is.
They were going to say Biodome.
No. Biodome's a classic.
It is a classic.
Don't cap on Biodome. Yeah.
What about, no, he wasn't in Encino Man. That's Pauly Shore, who was in
that was
Biodome.
Pauly Shore. That was Sean Astin and Brendan Fraser, of course, as the titular Encino Man.
From Encino.
Yes. And that was where you got to see, not Sean Astin is not a piece of shit, but his character was a complete piece of shit.
Yeah. What a weird movie.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah. That's why I went back to the thing with Charlie Sheen and like the range, because you mentioned the Hot Shots stuff, which Martin Sheen is in. And that's a funny scene that works because the two of them, I don't really consider Martin Sheen a comedic actor. He's a serious actor, right? Charlie Sheen has more range than his dad, I feel like. But I think Martin Sheen is a better actor overall. But I think Charlie Sheen has more range because Charlie Sheen, his meltdown aside, he literally was carrying a sitcom for years. A sitcom that continued not as long after he was off of it as it did before. And him being a personality is the reason he got into the whole winning tiger's blood thing. But Charlie Sheen is a really good actor and a really funny actor. But I think his dad is just a really good actor. And something like this kind of proves that out, I feel like.
I seem to remember him being very funny when he was on SNL way back in the fucking 70s. I remember him spitting into, I think it was Jane Curtin's hair. She's like, how do I get my hair so nice? I use Martin Sheen. And he just keeps spitting into
Oh my
her hair.
God. Jesus, that's fucking disgusting.
But it was pretty funny.
That is funny.
When I think of Martin Sheen, I definitely think of his more serious roles, even when he's unhinged in things like Firestarter, or I really liked him in The Final Countdown, but I love him in The Dead Zone. And that's at the end of that movie when he's holding that little kid as a fucking human shield. I'm like, oh man. But those moments where he's being super creepy and the missiles are on the way. Hallelujah. I'm like, oh man. He plays a great presidential figure, even when he's completely unhinged like Greg Stilson. Right after he does The Dead Zone, he's in Kennedy, the miniseries where he's playing John F. Kennedy. Like his relationship with the on-screen Kennedys, and then even the president that he played in The West Wing, I think is very Kennedy-esque.
Yeah, I would agree. Did you remember he was in the fucking Amazing Spider-Man movie? He was Ben Parker.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's so wild. He's had a really strange, late in life career, I feel like. I don't know. Again, the one thing that I saw him in a lot in my teen years was The Departed, because I enjoyed that movie.
I'd say Spawn.
Oh, Spawn for all the wrong reasons. No, it was The Departed, because I really liked The Departed back in the day. Not
it's
so
a great
much
movie.
Yeah.
It's not
fine.
one I go back to. I would probably go back to Infernal Affairs before I went back to the Departed.
That's the problem with The Departed, is I've seen Infernal Affairs now, and I'm with you. Yeah, that's the thing with Martin Sheen. For the most part, outside of The Departed recent stuff, I really haven't seen anything more recent than that. Yeah, but he's great here. And then you have Gary Busey being really understated, which buttered sausages guy is rarely understated.
The supporting cast for this, I already mentioned Ned Beatty, you mentioned Gary Busey, I mentioned Charles Hayde, but even Matt Clark, who always turns in a great performance. He's one of these, who's that guy? I've seen him so many times before. Like even me, the king of that guy kind of thing. I'm like, who is that? Matt Clark? I think that, and he always turns in a super solid performance. Yeah, I thought that all of the folks that were in this were just really good. And I especially think that, what's his wife's name? Marie Claire Costello. I guess I need to get my glasses checked here. She was really solid. I thought that she was great. And she has probably one of the worst roles that you can have, which is the almost to be grieving wife type of thing. And I don't understand what's going on. And the world is stomping all over me because she knows what's going on. She's not slow like Eddie is. She can see what's happening, and it's awful.
I was going to say, I think my favorite performance in the movie outside of the ones you mentioned is John Cedar as the guy who's at the table who keeps counting the votes over and over again. And it's like the fucking scene from Doctor Strange where it's, let's run this around the table again. Are we all certain? Let's run this around the table again. Wait a second, but you're unanimous in the vote, my friend. That's the thing that they leave just unmentioned. And I don't know, they don't hang a lantern on it. They just have you go down and you see him handing him the piece of paper that he's also written on. Mm-hmm. But I like that where he's maybe try this again. Maybe we'll have a different outcome. There's not going to be a different outcome. They're so stubborn and they're so stuck in their ways.
Angry Men. Yeah.
No, this is that Patrick McGowan character all over again. It's just like the U.S. government is unwavering in its treatment of people, regardless of your situation. And it's, wait a second, that's not how this should work. This poor guy, if they actually looked at his situation as anything other than a former criminal in the getting, conscripted into the military and drafted because, lol, we need more people to churn into the machine, they would have actually done something about it. But that scene where his wife is at the office is just so fucking heartbreaking. where she's like, what am I going to do? And she's like, you're going to have to go live in a one-room apartment or go live with your family. Times are tough. Sorry. It's like, good God. How uncaring and horrible, but ultimately probably the way it happened. There is something to be said for people that are bureaucratic, because there are people in this world that are willing to be unwilling.
Now, I find it funny. So the book comes out in 1955, which is 10 years after Private Slovik was killed.
By the U.S. government.
Murdered by the U.S. government. And James Dean was interested in being in it. This is what I'm reading anyway. James Dean was interested in it. And then, interestingly for me, talking about another JFK connection, is that Frank Sinatra wanted to play the role and was actually talked out of it by JFK, apparently. There's like that whole weird Sinatra-Kennedy connection, which was just so bizarre to me. I was
a devil's triangle, one might say.
Yeah, or the Eiffel Tower, perhaps. Yeah, but it was just because Sinatra was in that movie Suddenly, where it's the guy comes into town and he's going to murder the president. They never say which president it is. He doesn't even have any political aspirations. He's just there to be like, oh no, I'm going to get paid however many millions of dollars to do this job. It's just me murdering someone. And then he also gets the Manchurian Candidate pulled, which is all about the assassination of a president as well. And here he is, like, possibly playing Slovik. I really think that it wouldn't have worked in the 50s for James Dean. It wouldn't have worked in the 60s for Frank Sinatra. I really think that this coming out in 1974, hot on the heels of Watergate, there is so much reevaluation of what was going on in the political environment that this was the perfect time for this movie to come out. I'm just surprised it didn't come out theatrically. But TV movies were really pushing the envelope way more than people think. Our good friend Amanda Reyes, her whole thing of studying these TV movies and writing about them, it's invaluable because we get to see with fresh eyes like what was happening in our culture. This is coming directly into our living rooms. To have that little disclaimer at the beginning where it's, let me read it exactly what they say. We suggest you consider whether the program should be viewed by young people or others in your family who might be disturbed by it.
Yeah.
I was disturbed.
Yeah. It's a disturbing story. And at the end, when he's pleading for his life, it's awful. Like,
yeah.
Everything about this movie is really awful. And I honestly think that this is a movie that should still be shown in fucking world history classes, or at least U.S. history classes. Because this, look, here's the thing. You already mentioned it. This comes out in 1974. It's coming out with Vietnam. Vietnam is still in everybody's minds. I'm thinking of this in terms of the Vietnam War. And again, we talk about the idea of conscientious objectors, but we also talk about the idea of people who are just getting pulled into a conflict they have no business being a part of. Yeah. And what conflict is that if not Vietnam? Like, for real, right? World War II at least is a justifiable conflict. There was a possibility of the end of the civilized free world as we knew it because of Hitler and his rocketeers moving across the world at a frightening pace. But I don't see this movie as a World War II thing as much as I see, again, on yet another piece of anti-Vietnam media that would be coming out at this time anyways, because that was all the rage in the 70s, was sideways adjacent stuff about Vietnam.
Oh, yeah. I mentioned MASH, but we already had MASH the movie by this point. And this aired March 13th, 1974. The helicopters didn't leave Vietnam. Operation Frequent Wind, which sounds like there's a pill for that. That took place April 30th,
Activated
1975.
charcoal, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, that definitely helps. Helps if you got a little pad in the gusset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but feel like, again, we've lost sight of so many things, unfortunately, with our history in this country. But man, being critical of the U.S. government in a genuine way is one of those things. This is a point of discussion that I think should be raised because, again, what is the U.S. government's point in doing something like this at the point that they did it with the person that they did it to, if not to just say we did it. I don't remember exactly what it was. I believe it was something I covered with Father Malone or we covered with Father Malone, where there was an extra segment from one of these anthologies that we watched where it was about the unknown soldier. They were essentially like picking a soldier to be the soldier in the tomb of the unknown soldier from Vietnam, World War II. And the whole shtick is you've got the guy from the Air Force, the guy from the Navy, the guy from the Army, and then some 5-star generals in this room. And they invite the guy in and they're making this plea for him to be the unknown soldier. And maybe it was one of those anthology movies I watched for Father Malone's month in 2023.
Yeah.
But it was like, what is the fucking point? We're just, we're antagonizing U.S. citizens and then putting them to death. And again, it's a guy that can't even barely figure his life out. Like a guy who's having a hard time enough as it is.
Who finally seemed to be getting his life in order. And then when you find out that she loses the baby, oh my God.
I know. This is just everything. I'm dealing with a lot in my personal life right now, but even I'm not dealing with this much. Like, Jesus H. Christ. Yeah. Fuck around and find out, unfortunately, has lots of outcomes. And one of them is fuck around with the U.S. government and find out that the U.S. government is as caring as they pretend to be. That is a reality, that they are uncaring about the plight of the common citizen or the common soldier in the military's case. So I enjoyed it, but this is a tough watch. But I think this really should be required viewing. If we're going to read books like The Things They Carried in high school, which was the Vietnam book, we should be watching stuff like this in our history classes. This should be required viewing, at least about World War II, or at least about the Vietnam conflict, to use this as a bridge between the two. But yeah, instead we're just not being critical of the U.S. government in a helpful way. But man, Ned Beatty, right there at the end, he just fucking calls him out. You having a good time?
Oh man, that
I love
was
Ned Beatty. So good.
Oh, everybody's great in this, but he is in rare form.
Yeah, he's so good.
And the end of this is so harrowing.
I know, it's heartbreaking. Martin Sheen, when they put the hood on him and then they kill him. It's just awful. Again, this is a movie from 1974, but it moved me deeply because it's so fucking upsetting. And again, it's just the way it's told, the story of, like, when you think about somebody being executed, you don't think about all the things that go into it.
Yeah.
The guys that have to do it. Because again, there's U.S. military on the other side of this being forced effectively to do this. None of them are enjoying it.
Ugh.
Nobody here is having a good time at all. And the fact that this story focuses on those parts, it at times, I think, is also a real testament to, and this is the thing I think we haven't really even talked about a whole lot, the Levinson and Link of it all. Like, the story is so well done, and it is Columbo-esque, is it not? We know how this is going to end.
Yeah.
We have to see how we get there. And fucking Levinson and Link, right there up front, doing the same thing that they always do. It's telegraphed right there in the title. We see him effectively 2 minutes before he's shot with the crawl at the beginning. So we know how this is going to play out. But man, we were joking about it. We paused it to finish dinner the other night. We were watching it. And I was like, we all know how this is going to end. But still, it's like immensely entertaining and so well done that even though the outcome is inevitable and known ahead of time, I'm still beyond impressed that Levinson and Link land this so hard. But again, not surprising given the Columbo of it all.
It's amazing when you look at that ending and that he gets shot like around 1 hour, 50 minutes. And then he doesn't die for another 3 or 4 minutes. And just those looks of the soldiers from one to another. And they're just like, this guy is still alive. And you can hear those moans and the doctor running out there to check his heartbeat. And you're talking about just like the preparation and that scene where the guy who can barely speak French is ordering the hood from the French seamstress. Oh my God. That was like when she's blah, 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 the eye holes. He's like, nope, no eye holes. And just the look on her face and then the look on his face. Jesus.
I know. You mentioned it. The fact that this didn't get a theatrical release means Martin Sheen couldn't be nominated for an Oscar, which seems like a shame because he has never won an Oscar. And I would contend that this is the thing that should have gotten him at least a nomination, because
Oh, yeah.
he's so fucking good in this. I mean, I'm really impressed by how empathetic you are as an audience member for his character, because he's being played so sympathetically. And it's really not trafficking too hard in the Forrest Gump of it all, even though maybe it could have. I didn't really get that from the movie, but it verged on it at times.
Yeah, it's surprising when you say that Sheen hasn't won an Oscar, because I was just like, really? Even for Apocalypse Now? Just because he was so fucking good in that. And just even the way he is so deadpan quite a lot, but just because he shouldn't be there, America shouldn't be there, nobody should be there.
Again, that's the Eddie Slovik of it all. He just shouldn't be there.
It's wild.
Vietnam story, because it goes back to the whole, he just wasn't supposed to be here today. Like, this guy should have been anywhere else but in the war, because he did everything he could to not be in the position that he was in. And the inevitability of it all feels so fucking awful, doesn't it? And again, that's the way Levinson and Link tell the story, is the inevitability of it all. Is here's the train coming down the track. You're tied to the tracks, and you know the train's going to run you over, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Try, struggle, whatever you'd like, ain't going to change anything. And that's this entire story. It's the inevitability of this story, and just the way that he is treated, and we as the audience are treated by proxy. That's just so horrible, because you see everyone that he interacts with feels for this person. Even the people that vote, you don't get to see their interior monologue, other than the one guy who, well, let's go another vote. I'm assuming all the other people in that room, he says it, had no interest in being part of what they were part of, but they did it nonetheless. Duty above all else.
Just as a little footnote here, so I just looked up who was nominated for Oscars for the 52nd Academy Awards. Dustin Hoffman won in Kramer versus Kramer. Right. Jack Lemmon nominated for The China Syndrome. Al Pacino for And Justice for All. Roy Scheider for All That Jazz. And Peter Sellers for Being There. That's a really crowded field, man. But I will say, Melvin Douglas did win for Being There, but Duvall was nominated for his role as Kilgore. And Frederick Forrest was nominated, but not for Apocalypse Now. He was nominated for The Rose. And then you had Justin Henry for Kramer versus Kramer and Mickey Rooney for The Black Stallion. Some of these performances are just amazing. And almost all of these movies that I've mentioned are fantastic.
Yeah, but so is this movie.
Yes, it is.
It's a kind of a shame. It's a shame that it was not theatrically released, because I think if it had been, this would be remembered as one of those 70s Vietnam War movies. And I think it honestly deserves to be reappraised that way. I think that this is, I don't know, I really resonated with this movie. There's an inevitability to this story that I appreciated, because sometimes you do everything right in life and life still fucks you. Or you could do everything wrong in life and life still fucks you. Shit, you might do everything wrong in life and life doesn't fuck you at all.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do everything right in life and life still just fucks you repeatedly. And this is that story. This guy had the worst luck possible, really. It's, again, if he hadn't been alive during a live conflict, he would have been fine. We never would have heard of him. He would have just been another human being existing on this planet for 70, average on 70, 65 to 70 years. Would have died probably, so he was 24 when he died in 45. Would have died in the 90s, pre 9/11, would have gotten to see, no other major conflict like in his lifetime, like nothing other than Vietnam, but he would have been too old to be in Vietnam, right?
Vietnam, Kuwait, Iran too. Yeah.
No major conflicts, please.
Except for all those.
Yeah, except for all those. But those are just proxy wars.
Yeah,
those aren't major conflicts.
Yeah, police actions.
Exactly. We were just trying to stem the tide of communism. It wasn't a real war, Mike. Come on.
Yes. We call that the domino theory.
Yeah. But in my mind, this guy just had the worst timing. Because again, it does feel like the deck is stacked against you. It's almost like one of those things where it's not just the deck is stacked against you. It's like you went and pulled a magician's deck and there's only one card in there.
Yeah.
Bro, that's just, how can you be this unfucking lucky? I guess somebody has to be. Really.
This was nominated for quite a few awards, at least 7 Emmys, and a few, the American Cinema Editors, and then a Directors Guild of America. Lamont Johnson was nominated, but this only seemed to win in editing. It was Frank Morris with 2 S's, 2 R's. He won for the ACE, and then he also won for 2 Emmys, one for Best Film Editing for Entertainment Programming, and the other one for Film Editor of the Year. So it was recognized in some way, and Martin Sheen was nominated for an Emmy, but didn't win. So it got some due, but it's not one that I've heard of before. So I'm not blaming the world. I'm blaming me for not having looked this up before. But yeah, I would have liked to have had some sort of inkling that this existed.
It's a story worth hearing. It's a story worth being told. It's a story that I think still resonates today. And the Levinson and link of it all, I think really helps because it is so well written. And that's because of the guys behind some of the great TV shows of all time. Yeah. I was hesitant when not because of any specific reason, but I was like, maybe is this a little too far afield for us? But with the way the story is told, I really think Levinson and Link were uniquely qualified to tell this story. And kudos to them for making a story that has an inevitable ending so goddamn entertaining, but at the same time, so unbelievably just heart-wrenching.
Yeah. And I think that the storytelling technique that they use for the gun is also an interesting one. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but we'll be back next month talking about that one as we continue our little break between seasons here of Columbo. So if you don't want to hear that, come back in 2 months. Otherwise, we'll be around next month. And until then, Chris, what are you working on these days?
Just making podcasts and audio diversions over at weirdingwaymedia.com, where you can find this show and all the other things that I work on, including the Culture Cast, Bollywood Cinema Club, a whole bunch of things. Everything but Rankin' on Bond, which can be found at your Patreon, my Patreon. And that's it, patreon.com/projection booth or /culturecast. And go support everybody who's on Weirding Way Media, including Father Malone at /Father Malone and Susan and Sharon over at ADCV Ladies on Patreon. Yeah, that's where you can find me and all the people that I support and shout out for. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same thing, other than, I won't mention Father Malone or Sharon and Susan. Forget all those people. Just me. Just pay attention to me, please. Yeah, we'll be back next month. I want to thank John Walker, who you can also pay attention to, for our opening theme song, and Colin Gallagher, who wishes to remain anonymous, for our end theme song. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and we'll be back next month with another Shabby Detective.
Well, the wars they come and the wars they go, and deserters come and deserters go. And the army paperwork's a figuring thing, it can figure its way to pull a trigger and ring. Some legends are sweet, some legends are bad, but the legend of Eddie sings a sweet song sad. They never shot a man, AWOL, since the Lincoln War till the Hitler of hell. Hey, Eddie Slovik, hey there, Polish cousin, they shot you down upon the ground, the musketry was buzzing. Hey, Private Eddie, the paperwork was ready. General Ike, he drove the spike that lays in a cemetery. When Eddie was just a grown young lad, he done things good and he done things bad. He stole some money from an old drugstore, later took him to prison and shut that door. Then Eddie came out like a young lad should. He married a girl, thought he never could. Then a letter came postmarked at Eddie's door. Next thing you know, he went off to war. Hey, Eddie Slovik, hey there, Polish cousin, they shot you down upon the ground, the musketry was buzzing. Hey, Private Eddie, the paperwork was ready. General like he drove the spike that lays in a cemetery. Eddie couldn't kill an enemy man, tow it to his buddy on a foreign land. They told Eddie Slovik again and again to go back to his infantry fighting men. When Eddie refused, it got their goat, plus the battle of the bulge eating at their throat. Hey, Eddie Slovik, hey there, Polish cousin, they shot you down upon the ground, the musketry was buzzing. Hey, Private Eddie, the paperwork was ready. General like he drove the spike that lays in a cemetery. There were 49,000 that ran away. How come they shot just Eddie that day? How come his woman was never told by the way his body was buried bold? But now she lives in a Detroit town as Eddie sleeps in a Frenchman's ground. Oh, Era, you're a simple thing, as long as I don't feel your mortal sting. Hey, Eddie Slovik, hey there, Polish cousin, they shot you down upon the ground, the musketry was buzzing. Hey, Private Eddie, the paperwork was ready. General like he drove the spike that lays in a cemetery.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.